The Bible is really an amazing, collection of literature, of poetry, of history, of genealogy, and it would fit into many genres if you were to put it, in a library. But at the heart of what the Bible is, it's writing, it's literature, it's an art. What's interesting is in the last, last century, the Western church, I think with the rise of left brain activities and science, it's tried to force it into the category of a textbook. But if that's the end, you kind of miss the point of, what the Bible is supposed to be. When my wife and I first started dating in the early 90s, we didn't have email, we didn't have cell phones. And what we did was we kept this journal, and I would keep it for a week writing it, she would keep it for a week writing it. And we had it for months. I filled out the last pages, put it in the mail, and then sent it to her. And it got lost in the mail. And so we don't have that book anymore. And I have two boys, I've told my sons about this book. And, hypothetically, if one day I'm gone and then they stumble onto this book, I don't think they're gonna be asking about the reliability of this book, or I don't think they're gonna use it like a textbook. I think they're gonna read it. I think they're gonna find out what their mom and dad was like. They're gonna find out how cheesy they were, unfortunately. And I think they'd find a person and they'd find beauty. And I think at the heart of Scripture, that's what it's supposed to be. When you read it, when you engage it, the personification of the text comes to life.
There are so many questions I don't know the answers to and I don't get. But if I wanted to know what Jesus was like, it was all there. I was one of those people who really wrestled with it. I studied the Bible in its original languages. I looked at everything from creation through to some of the horrible, horrible bits in Judges with the genocides and all these horrible things which happen. And so it wasn't like, oh, I picked up a book and it was easy. But I looked at this incredible library of books, these 66 books, and I saw him, and I like what he's about. I like the way he lifted up the dirty. I like the way I like how he treats people. I like how he doesn't forget people. I like the crazy miracles, and I like the healings and the life transformations. And as a historical document, I know it's a serious book. If we're going to be technical, it's a serious book. It's an incredible work of literature that has lasted millennia. Most of what we read, whether it be Shakespeare and all these people, have drawn ideas and creativity and art from this influential book. So yes, I love it because it's an influential book. And I loved reading it, and I loved discovering it in its original languages, because so much is lost in translation in an ordinary book. But what makes me keep on reading this interesting book is because it introduced me to Jesus, and I don't get bored about reading what he's like. I don't get tired of it. When my friends ask me if it's worth reading, I'm like, yeah, of course it's worth reading. Just give it a go, just have a look. Have a look at him and see what you think. That's what I always say.
My wife and I started a church in our living room for people who have questions, and the explosive growth of the last 2 years, people have asked, what's the secret? What's the marketing strategy to that? And I think one of the big secrets is we just give people a Bible and just say, listen, let us help you on this journey. And the word Bible just means books. So this isn't one book, it's actually 66 different books. The Old Testament is just the story of a nation. And the New Testament is the story of this man, this God-man that came out of this nation So you have 39 books in the Old Testament. First 17, history of the nation. The next 5 starts with Job, goes over to Ecclesiastes, thus poetry about the nation. Last 17, prophecy, mostly prophecy about this one, Jesus, this king who would come. And then you get to the New Testament. So if you look at the New Testament, you've got the first 4 books. They're called Gospels. Then you got the book of Acts, just the history of the early church. After Acts, you've got these letters. And there's 21 of them written by different people to different people. And then the book of Revelation, prophecy about Jesus coming back and the end of time. I'd start in the book of John. Jesus picked a guy named John who was a teenager. So John was very young when he started following Christ. He writes about that. And then after John, I'd go to James. James is a great practical book. Just read that. And then maybe Philippians. And just remember one thing, the Bible was not necessarily written just for information. It was written for transformation. I really believe that a verse, a word will really jump out at you, and God will really speak, and you'll be amazed at how relevant this book will become to your life.
In the midst of a lot of things that are brand spanking new and all the digital technologies that we have, I look at something like the Bible, which is ancient scripture, and how it might bring meaning to our lives today. And listen, we're living in a very skeptical age. People have a lot of questions about the Bible. They have a lot of reasons, I think, to wonder whether it has meaning, and even sort of like what it's all about. I think about my own son, Zach, who, when we were talking to him about the fact that God has sort of like everything, he provides for us, and we even used the phrase for his small little brain. We said that God has millions and trillions of dollars. And he immediately asked me and my wife if that was because God has sold so many Bibles. And I just thought that was like so funny and so clever. And it illustrates this sort of like innate skepticism that some of us have towards organized religion and towards Scripture. And the one thing that I guess I could say about it, there's a lot of great theologians and others who could talk about, the Bible and why it might be trustworthy. But I think the thing for me that has been interesting as a leader, as a person who's been trying to build a business and try to think about my own leadership, I've been amazed at the different places in Scripture, in Proverbs and in Ecclesiastes and in different portions of it that bring me a sense of clarity about what it means to be a leader, to be a human. And I've just been surprised over and over again that the pages of the Bible have particular things to say to us about our families, about our businesses, about our souls that can actually not just help us, because the Bible isn't just sort of like a manual so that you can feel better about yourself, but it actually comes to speak into my life about my relationship to money, about leadership, about my lust, about my relationship to others, about my thinking about people who don't share the same faith as I have. And I think that we can begin to look at the Bible in maybe a new way, that it isn't just something we pull out at church, or it's something for us to bring our skepticism toward, but it actually might give us wisdom and discernment for living in a complex age. And to me, that's been one of the most helpful things about rediscovering the Bible.